Welcome to Putting the Real in Real Estate, the podcast about all things real estate, all things local, and all things life, where we hope to inform, entertain, and inspire. Hello, everybody, and welcome into episode 12 of Putting the Real in Real Estate. I'm your host, Glenn Hockersmith, and as always, I want to thank you for choosing to spend some of your precious time with me here today. We took a couple weeks off the podcast, being stuck here at home on lockdown like everyone else. It's been a little noisy and we haven't been in our same routine as we usually are. So I took a couple weeks off, but we're going to jump right back in here today, and we're going to kind of take a little detour from all the real estate talk, and we're going to speak with a local business owner and talk to him about not only his business and how he's been coping through all of this, but how he's going to come out the other side of it, and maybe some ways that we might be able to help him. So we're going to jump right into it. Today's guest is a former engineer with a BS in biomedical engineering, who, along with his wife, Kimberly, of 38 years, co-founded Donum Dei Brewery, which was opened 5 years ago in New Albany, Indiana. Donum Dei now makes vodka, whiskey, brandy, as well as their signature craft beers on site at their New Albany tap room, where conversation is highly encouraged. Richard Otey, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks, Glenn. Appreciate it.
I appreciate you coming in today. I know you're busy, and so I really appreciate the time.
We appreciate the opportunity to get the word out, and appreciate your help. So thanks.
Absolutely. So, Richard, the first time I had your beer was probably just after you opened. It was at an outdoor concert down on the New Albany riverfront. I don't remember exactly what the event was, but I was really into IPAs at that time, and I believe it was the Amorous.
Okay, yeah.
It really stood out to me in color and flavor from the millions of other IPAs I had tried, and I've kind of been a fan of your art, as you like to call it, ever since. So in preparation for this conversation, I read an article that the other day, and it was talking about the fact that you weren't even a beer drinker until like 1994 or something like that.
That's right. That's right.
My question
go ahead.
How in the world did you go from being a non-beer drinking engineer to a guy who makes such wonderful beer?
Wow, that's a long road. It actually started with scented candles.
Really?
Okay. Yes. My wife and I decided we're getting ready to become empty nesters, and we needed to get to become reacquainted with one another again, because we've been, busy raising children. And it's like, well, if I'm going to spend the rest of my life with you, we probably need to get reacquainted. So we got some hobbies that we got together with. Started with scented candles, and they turned out great. Everybody was wanting to buy them. It's like, no, I don't want to be a scented candle maker, So we started to expand the hobbies. It's like, what else do we enjoy that we can make? So we started start gardening again, and canning, and making our own marinara and sauerkraut, and making our own cheese and wine. We started making wine. And then one year, my lovely bride bought me a Mr. Beer kit. And the first beer was absolutely horrible. And well, I didn't do anything wrong, so it must be the ingredients, right? Yeah, that's it.
Sure.
So I went out and started researching how to build my own brewery, and $500,000 later.
So, with your engineering background, I guess you're a guy, when you get into something, you go all in, and you learn as much as you can.
That is a curse, yes.
Sure. A blessing and a curse. I think you said something that's pretty interesting to me. Me and my wife talk all the time. We've got 5 kids. We've got one in college, one starting college next year, and two more teenagers, and then a 10-year-old. So it's not
my.
too far down the road where we're going to, be those empty nesters. And I talk to her about all the time about finding something that we can do together that we have a common interest in, so that all of a sudden when the kids are gone, we're not looking at each other like, oh, what are we going to do now?
Who are you? Who are you?
Yeah.
And why are you in my house?
Right.
Yeah, it is important. It really is.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that common interest is going to be for us yet, but I guess we still have a little bit of time to figure it out.
There you go. But in the road to opening this up, I wanted to come at it at a different perspective, I think, than most people. I became a Doman's beer sommelier. I was in the first class that was offered in the United States. They travel all over the world offering these sommelier classes. And I wanted to start on the consumer's side of the bar and work my way backwards to the back. I didn't want to start in the back and say, here's beer like it. I wanted to know what the consumer was expecting, because, not being an avid beer consumer, I needed to know a little bit more about it, because the first time I'd ever drank anything other than, a Budweiser or whatever was in Seattle, Washington in 1994 with an ESB. And I actually went to the brewery and it's like, what's all this? This isn't beer. This is dark. That's red. What is this? So it was a good eye-opening experience, but I enjoy the process of making beer more than drinking beer, if that makes sense. And I think there's a psychological reasoning for it, other than I'm being crazy. It's engineers are analytical by nature, by birth. They're analytical creatures, but that doesn't mean they don't want to be artistic. I just don't have the ability to be artistic. I can't sing, dance, play an instrument, paint, nothing like that. But I can take the things that I am good at, the math, the sciences, the STEMs, and make what I consider my art. So I've never entered any of my beers in a competition, just because I don't want I don't mind the criticism. I just don't want someone telling me, oh, that's not up to style. That's not what beer is about. It's to be enjoyed.
Sure.
And I think the consumer is my judge.
I would agree with that. And I think whether it's beer or bourbon or wine, I think some people really get caught up with,
most definitely.
You see the so-called professionals who, they write their long reviews and give their tasting profiles. And, sometimes I think the average consumer can feel a little bit put off by that. And so really what it comes down to is, what do you like?
Exactly. Do you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it? Yes or no? Okay. Then
absolutely.
It's like our day shine. A lot of people were put off the day shine whiskey. A lot of people were put off by the color. So, well, this is a light whiskey. Yeah. And they're like, well, that's because it's not bourbon. There are other kinds of whiskey in the world besides bourbon. Now, I'm a bourbon fan. Don't get me wrong. I'm not smashing bourbon at all. But there are different types of whiskey. And our whiskey is a single malt whiskey that we age in bourbon barrels. So, it's not got the deep, dark amber color of a bourbon, but it's not bourbon.
Right. Yeah. And you and I were kind of discussing this last night. I was telling you, I don't know, a year or two ago, I was sitting in your tap room and I saw that you were making the day shine, and I saw it, and I'm a bourbon guy, so I'm used to looking at something and seeing a lot darker color. Yeah. And so I thought I'd try it out. And honestly, I didn't have high expectations for it just based on the color. I knew you made great beer, but I didn't I wasn't so sure about the whiskey thing, but I tell you what, I tried it, and I've got a glass right now that I'm sipping on, and it was
All
really,
right. Well,
really good.
cheers.
Yeah, it
All
was
right. Thank you,
very
brother. Appreciate
surprising.
that.
The had a really nice flavor profile, and I really enjoyed it. So good job on that. And I know you've got a bourbon that's sitting in a barrel right in the tap room that's waiting
Yep.
to come to age, and
Right.
I just can't wait to give that a try. If your day shine is any indication of how good that bourbon's going to be, I'm super excited to give that a try.
Well, we hope it turns out. So far, so good in our tastings. It's pretty good, but we'll
Good
see
deal.
when it's done.
So what made you decide to go the distilling route? Was that always in the business plan from the beginning, or was that something that kind
Yes,
of
it,
just
it was
progressed?
always in the plan, mainly because we could do it as a farm winery or a small brewery. You're allowed an artisan distiller's permit. If you've been good for 3 years, haven't had any major excise faux pas, you can apply and become a distiller. And whiskey is just distilled beer. So we already make beer. So we use the same equipment, and so it's another brand that we can use and not add a whole lot of equipment to do so.
Mm-hmm.
We've actually taken our boil kettle from our brewery, and we're dual purposing it as a first run pot still. And I don't know of anybody that's doing that.
Yeah, and
So,
I'm glad you brought that up, because that was actually going to be my next question. Something that I really love about coming into your place is how everyone's so down to earth and friendly, and your employees are always willing to give tours and show the customers the brewing and distilling
yeah,
process. And
yeah.
I was in there one day, and one of your guys was showing me around, and it was just apparent your engineering background was apparent just because of the way you maximize your small space and
Yeah.
how you had
Emphasis on
improvised and
small.
yeah, and repurposed your equipment. So, you mentioned the dairy tank that you repurposed as a
Yeah.
fermenter. I think you've got a cooler that you made yourself. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yeah. We built our own coolers. Yeah. We've also got a dairy tank that's our mash tun as well. Yeah. So yeah, we've repurposed. There's only one new piece of equipment. Well, two. Our small finishing still we purchased, and our second fermenter we purchased. So those are the only two pieces of new equipment that we purchased. Everything else has been repurposed, re-engineered.
That's awesome.
Mainly for our space.
Sure.
Yeah.
And you're for those that don't know, you're located on right off of Grant Line Road in New Albany, Indiana. So definitely,
Behind Lee's famous fried chicken.
yes, behind Lee's, who, by the way, one of my clients owns or runs
Yeah.
that place. So,
Hey man, we eat a lot of livers and gizzards.
yeah, shout out to Lee's. So, you had mentioned some of you were talking about the law that affects, what regulates when you can start distilling and so forth. And obviously,
yeah,
you've had to kind of change the way you do business here in the past few months because of COVID-19, just like most people have.
Right.
And this interview came about because you were in my neighborhood along with a local taco truck selling growlers of beer and just kind of helping people out, bringing your product to the neighborhood, getting people out of their house. Obviously, social distancing was in effect, but something happened there, and you kind of had to shut down early that night. So what the heck was that all about? And What caused that?
Well, we had been doing this for the past 2.5 weeks. We're wherever Fistful of Tacos, shout out to them as well, was headed, they would invite us to tag along and sell growlers and cans of beer. Now, we weren't selling pints, you're not walking around with an open glass. We were delivering beer, which as a brewery we can do. Well, somehow, and this isn't in code, this is interpretation by the ATC, that the permit that we pay for follows the building, not a vehicle. So we can't bring pre-filled vessels to a neighborhood without an order for that was phoned in to the brewery. So to me, it's a matter of splitting hairs. And in this time, I just don't think there's any room for that. We are just trying to survive. We have a very small footprint. Even now, if we were to open up table service, I could get 10 people in there. And that would disrupt our pickup and curbside service because we couldn't allow on that side. So it just doesn't make any sense for us to open up for the possibility of 10 people because we can't even set up in the parking lot because that's
Sure.
against ATC regulations. So we're going to be closed down till the end of June, except for pickup. So we were just trying to think outside the box to be able to survive. And the thing about it was, people in these neighborhoods, they would come up and say, I want to thank you so much for doing this. It was a little slice of normalcy in their life. We went to one neighborhood, Champions Point, and it was 43 degrees, raining, and the wind was blowing. People were standing in line for an hour and a half to wait for a taco and a beer. So, and they were thanking us for coming there.
Absolutely.
So, we're trying to stay alive because we're basically shut down. Our spirits business are down more than 70% because it's a impulse buy. The only place you can buy our spirits is in our tap room. Because we're so small, we can't attract a wholesaler. And Indiana also doesn't have direct-to-consumer sales, which Kentucky just recently passed, by the way. So I can't get a wholesaler. I can't direct to consumer. So the only place you can buy our spirits is through our door. I would suggest we need direct to consumer sales for anyone under X amount of cases. And we also need a micro distribution network under so many cases annually, just to give small distilleries an opportunity to grow. Because right now we don't have a vehicle to grow. So how do we get to the size to where a wholesaler will look at us? So it's gotten to the point where a small business can't start small, grow organically, and become successful. There are too many roadblocks in the way for that to happen. So those need to come down. And now is the time for us to work on that because we have some leverage in that, this is what's going on. And the other part I don't understand is we are generating revenue for the state.
Sure.
Okay. One of the things that if anybody out there is looking to become a brewery or a distillery, one thing you need to realize up front is that you are a tax collection arm for both the federal and state government. And if you get that in your head, you're going to live a much happier life as a business owner. So, the most expensive ingredient in that beer and those spirits are taxes, because we pay sales tax, we pay federal excise tax, and we pay state excise tax. So there's 3 separate taxes in every bottle that goes out the door. So I don't understand why the state wouldn't want to promote us.
Sure. Well, it sounds like some of these laws are a bit archaic, and they've probably been, a lot of these large distributors have a lot of money to throw around, and
Yeah.
lobbyists and things have been this way for a long time. And like you said, I think now is a really good time to leverage the situation we're in now to maybe make push for some of those changes.
And thanks to Ed Clere and the Lieutenant Governor, we are really working on that. We had a lot of our customers actually write Ed emails, saying, hey, this should happen, this needs to happen, because what happened during this corona, they've allowed restaurants to sell growlers, which is okay with us. We understand that. They're shut out too, but that's the only thing we had. So in doing that, you limited our consumer base, but you didn't give us anything. So just give us something. Just give us something that we can survive on, because I can't keep going like this until the end of June.
Yeah,
we actually hired more people.
I saw that. I saw that you had put an ad out,
Yeah.
I guess on Facebook. I think I saw it on where you were looking for some temporary help, right?
Right. And, if we can turn things around, we'll make that permanent as we can. But yeah. So not only did we not lay anybody off, we hired 2 more people.
Sure. And right now, any job is valuable right now with I think we're at a all-time high on unemployment, and hopefully those numbers will come down. But I feel like the longer this drags out.
Well, the Brewers Association has estimated that as much as 40% of all craft breweries will close by the end of this.
Wow.
Yeah. So, but that, I don't want to sound crass, but I think that makes our business plan going into that much more valuable, because we wanted to grow organically. We didn't borrow money.
Sure.
We grew as the business grew. So we can withstand this, but we just need to be able to sell our product. That's all I'm asking. We're making a legal product. Just give me the means to sell it.
Right.
And another strange thing, another strange thing about the Indiana laws is there is a provision in there for wineries. There is a micro wholesaler's permit for brandy. You can sell it's like a ridiculously low sum permit fee of like $100. You can sell up to 12,000 gallons of brandy a year, but it's just brandy. What differentiates brandy from whiskey is just the raw material. One is fruit based and one is grain based. The end product is the same. So why that? Just add the word whiskey to that and allow us to have that micro wholesalers permit, to where we can sell to the Exchange, where we can sell to Dragon King's Daughter and all the other local restaurants around, and promote our brand that way.
Yeah, and I think I appreciate you educating us on that, because I don't know that the average person realizes some of these things, like the way the distribution system is set up in the state, and all of the laws that apply to you as a brewer and a distiller. If, for instance, I don't understand what the difference is between you being able to go and set your truck up at a festival on the riverfront and sell individual beers, yet you can't visit a neighborhood and sell growlers.
And they're not issuing festival permits right now either. So
sure.
Yeah, that's another issue. But yeah.
Seems a bit
counterintuitive. I don't know either. I don't know. It's the only thing, and again, I don't mean to step on toes, but it seems to be very consistent. I can deliver beer, but I can't deliver spirits. I can't sell spirits direct to consumer. I can't do this delivery the way we were doing. And the only thing that seems to be in common is there's no wholesaler in the middle of it. So,
Interesting.
yeah.
So if anyone wants to help in that regard, you can email Ed Clere, right? And I think on Donum Dei's Facebook page, you have a sample email that I'm sure if someone wanted to go there and copy and paste.
A customer of ours actually wrote that. We didn't write that.
Sure, sure. So yeah, you can do that if you want to help out a small business.
We would much appreciate that. Yeah,
absolutely. And I'm sure the other local breweries would appreciate that as well, because you all are. It seems to be the community. Yes, you're competitors, but it seems like a tight knit community where you do help each other out.
Well, the small breweries and small distilleries, the mindset of that started, way back in the beginning of the craft beer movement. Is we know that as an industry, we have to work together, because the major players can snuff us out in a heartbeat if we were to work individually, but collectively we make a difference. So we have to work collectively, which is kind of a cool feat.
Yeah, same thing with realtors. I mean, we are all competitors, and it's a very it can be a cutthroat profession, but we also, especially here in Southern Indiana, we really get along well. We help each other out. We've got, the National Association of Realtors just for the things that you're talking about, where we can all come together and kind of act as one big organism to fight for our best interests.
Well, here's something, I don't want to toot our own horn, but we try to be community based. So we have things like local artists show their wares in our pub. We gave away hand sanitizer. My wife is a nurse at a nursing home. They were out of hand sanitizer. So we started making hand sanitizer back in the middle of March to give away. But we also sponsored a realtors class in our pub while it was closed. They had no place to take the test, and here they were waiting. So we had 10 people in the pub taking the realty tests. So
I did not know about that. That's awesome. Yeah, although I did come in and take advantage of your free hand sanitizer, was, and I have to commend you on that, because that was, you jumped on that very quickly.
Well, again, that was out of hey, my wife's, working at a very high risk environment right there, and I'm going to make sure that she has what she needs to feel safe. So, and we gave it away to many nursing homes, civic organizations, and then we had people like UPS and the city of Indy calling us like, no,
wow.
You can't do that. We're not that big, sorry.
Yeah, I know a lot of the large distillers across the river over in Kentucky. We're doing a lot of that. I think shipping barrels of it over to UPS and Worldport. So
I think Huber's was too.
Yeah. So it just kind of getting back to our previous conversation, you talked a little bit about becoming the beer sommelier, and I think a lot of people have heard of wine sommeliers.
Right.
I wasn't aware that there was such a thing as a beer sommelier. So
there's water sommeliers.
Yes.
Right.
I saw that when I was looking on Doman's website, doing some research for this conversation.
Wow, you went deep, brother. Thanks a lot.
I try to educate myself. But and I honestly, selfishly, I was thinking, hey, that might be something I might be interested in.
I tell you what, it's the final for that is nerve-wracking.
Really?
We had 9 different German light lagers, and we had to get 6 out of the 9 correct with the style and brewery.
Oh, wow.
Yes.
That's not easy.
Not easy at all.
I did a little blind taste test of 4 different bourbons when the whole lockdown started, and we were just
Yeah.
trying to find ways to entertain ourselves. And I
And
thought I
drink
was
at the same time.
exactly. I was pretty confident in my ability to at least pick 3 of them.
Yeah.
0.
Oh my.
Now, I used the excuse that I had 5 kids in my face, and I wasn't allowed
there you
to go back and taste them again after I had to pick them as I tasted them. So I blame that. I feel like I could have gotten at least 2 or 3 of them that way, but that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
Learning to taste is actually a trained thing, because you don't actually think about, when you're tasting something, how you taste it. You just taste it because it's either good or it's not good, and that's about as far as you get from it. So learning to taste is just like any other activity that you want to be good at. You have to work at it. There's the the first taste, there's the nose, there's the back end, there's and your olfactory senses are your primary tasting. So even if you've had some, my gosh, I can't imagine any nasal problems in the Ohio Valley in spring, but that's going to affect your tasting. So it's and what you taste and what somebody else tastes is totally different. Neither one of you are right or wrong. So for someone to say, oh, no, it's this. No, that's bullshit. You taste what you're tasting, and you are right. Now, a sommelier or a bartender can suggest, like, hey, you're getting out of a Belgian beer, you're getting that ripe banana, you're getting that clove, allspice. Those are the things that come forth in a yeast, in the Belgian yeast, and that's what you get. Now, some people may not, but
sure, and your tastes change too. I know,
most definitely.
For me, as far as beer goes, it depends on which season it is, on what kind of I'm drinking. Obviously in the summertime, I'm probably drinking something a little lighter, or maybe an IPA that's a little hoppier, and in the wintertime, I'm drinking a stout or a porter.
Right.
And then,
most definitely.
And I know one of the first things I learned in tasting bourbon was, when you smell it, it makes a difference if you open your mouth when you're smelling.
Exactly. Yeah.
My kids like to make fun of me for that.
No, you crack your mouth open a little bit, and no, that's exactly right. And before you smell it or taste it again, smell the back of your hand or your arm. Give your olfactory a difference. So, because it will, you become nose blind, like the commercial says. And so you have to give it a refresher. Same way with your taste, eat a cracker, a little soda cracker or something.
Mm-hmm. So speaking of taste, I'm going to have to ask you, what is your favorite Donum Dei beer?
Oh man, you got to make me pick between my children. I'm like you. It's different seasons. Right now, it's Nebula. It's a juicy Northeast style IPA. It's got the mouthfeel. It's got that little bit of caramel front end with the. We like to design a beer like I don't know, like almost like a meal. You have your initial taste, your upfront, your olfactory experience, and then as it goes through the taste, you'll want that. In this case, that bitterness on the back end, so it gets rid of that caramely, fruity, and you're ready for the next drink. I always like to explain it as, if you're sitting down to eat, grandma's pecan pie at Thanksgiving, you can't just sit down and eat a piece of pecan pie. You got to have that cup of coffee to go with it.
Right.
If not, by the time the end of the pumpkin pie or the pecan pie, you're so disgusted with the sweetness that I can't eat anymore. So you got to have that refresher to your taste buds. So that's what we try to do within the beer.
I get that a lot. There are certain beers out there that I've tried that on the first or second sip, hey, this is pretty good, but then you get 3 or 4 drinks
halfway through it, you're like, well,
gosh, I can't finish this.
Yeah, I'm that way with sours. 6 ounces of sour, and I'm good for a year.
Yeah, and I'm there with you. I'm not big on sours. Not big on fruity beers. Now, when I say fruity beers, I don't mean an IPA.
Right,
I like a
right.
nice IPA with a
More like a lambic.
citrus. Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
So what about a non-Donum Day beer? Do you have one that you are kind of on right now that you really like?
The Saison Dupont, you can never go wrong. In pairing food, if a sommelier runs out of ideas on what to pair with it, just throw in a Saison Dupont.
There you go.
And, all right, there you go.
So
I mean, that's such a fantastic beer. Pliny the Younger, I love that, but who can get a hold of that? I mean, there are a lot of fantastic beers out there. But if I'm drinking for pleasure, it's generally a bourbon. I'm more of a bourbon drinker.
Are you do you have a favorite bourbon, or are you kind of like me?
Usually the one that's in my hand. Well, my everyday drinker used to be W.L. Weller.
Yeah.
Until they blew that up and you can't find it anywhere. So I try not to spend. I could spend a lot of money on bourbon, so I try to find a medium priced product that I can enjoy. I mean, I like Jefferson's Reserve. I like, I don't know, Booker's is one of my all-time favorite. Proof that Jim Beam knows how to make bourbon.
Yes, they do.
You know, and just about anything made by Shazrak.
Right.
They're except for that damn Fireball shit
that they're making right behind you now.
Yeah, right behind us. Thank you, guys. You're gonna make something. Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny. When I first started getting into bourbon, I used to kind of collect bourbon more than I actually drank it back in the early 2000s. I found a couple bottles of Pappy Van Winkle before anyone else really knew about it, and picked up a bottle of the 23-year Reserve and a bottle of the 13-year Family Reserve Rye, and
which is my favorite, by the way. I love that.
The rye.
Yes.
It's funny you say that, because I held on. I think I paid $37 for that bottle. The 23-year, I spent a little more on that. I paid I don't know, $2.90 or something.
Where did you find it?
On a shelf up at Welch's Liquors in Carrollton, Kentucky, which I don't know if that exists anymore or not, but I used to be a FedEx contractor, and that was part of my territory.
I gotcha.
So I didn't even know what it was when I saw it at first, but I thought, well, $200 something, it must be good, So I bought it and held on to it until 2013, when Louisville won the national championship in basketball.
Oh yeah.
I thought, hey, if I'm looking for an occasion to pop it open, now's a good time.
Wait a minute, what was that? Did they?
Yeah, we're not gonna get into that.
Oh, this isn't a sports podcast. Yeah.
But anyway, it's funny because as soon as I took the first drink, I regretted opening it. I thought, you know what? I should have sold this, because, and I'm not saying it's bad. I'm sure
I am with you.
Some people love it. But to me, it was just too much.
Too much. Yeah.
Now, don't get me
wrong. The
12-year,
the lot B, to me, is much better.
Yeah. So don't get me wrong. I finished the bottle eventually. I held on to the 13-year rye.
Yeah.
And actually sold that last year for $2,300.
There you go, man.
That was a nice investment on my $37. That was a nice return on my $37 investment.
And that will allow Mama to justify you buying more.
Well, actually, we took it and we paid for half a trip to Jamaica.
There you go.
So she appreciated that. But now I'm more into finding, like you said, affordable bourbons that are really good.
Yeah.
Like Old Granddad bottled in bond. That's one of my
Yeah.
go-tos now, and you can get it for under $30.
Right.
So
Well,
a lot of
Evan Williams. There's nothing wrong with Evan Williams,
no,
for
not
a
at all.
daily drinker.
Absolutely.
Oh, yeah. Well, my Pappy story was I found it at the Westport Kroger back, I don't know, long time ago for $207. Bought 2 bottles of it. At the announcement of our first grandchildren, we popped it open and drank it, but we've saved the other one. So
Yeah.
I still have it. It's a Stitzer Weller. So there's not going to be any more of that.
Right.
So yeah, I'm waiting for.
That's what made the bottles that I had so valuable, is because it was before they moved their facilities.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned to me when I ran into you in the neighborhood a couple of weeks ago and asked you if you'd be interested in being on my real estate podcast. You'd mentioned that you have done or do some flipping. Is that correct?
Yeah. Our third project is about to go on the market, or has gone on the market.
Okay.
And we've purchased our fourth.
Cool.
So
this is kind of a new venture for you?
Well, my boss said I needed to start making some money. So yeah. And our son is a contractor. So, we don't have to worry about that. And he just recently, he's getting ready to take his state realty license. So then we won't have to worry about that either. So, yeah, it's a nice way to make a little side hustle money.
Yeah.
And
it's
we
something...
focus in the under 200 market, and we buy very distressed properties. So, even the ones that we buy ugly houses, people won't touch.
Yeah, it's challenging right now. I've, as a realtor, I've tried to get into it. I actually partnered with someone else last year on one that was very successful, just to kind of get my feet wet and learn about it. And I've been actively looking for a new opportunity here recently, and it's even, as a realtor, it's hard to find these properties.
Exactly. Yeah.
You almost have to know somebody and find them before they hit the market, for sure. And there's a lot of wholesalers out there right now. And
that's who we're working with. We're working with a couple of wholesalers, and they're doing all the beat work and handing us a project, and which makes it very nice. So
right. So tell me, have you learned any hard lessons yet in the flipping business?
I would say our biggest lesson is, like what you said, start out slow, inexpensive. Don't try to hit a home run your first time out, because you're not going to. So don't finance. Buy your first couple cash. That way you're not under pressure to sell. Stage it.
Absolutely.
People love that. Watch too much HGTV, so they expect that stuff now.
Oh yeah, and what's really cool now, and I do this with some of the properties I list, if they're vacant, you can stage them virtually now. Most people's first showing is online, so for $35-$45 per picture, you can digitally stage a home.
Dude, hook us up. Hook a brother up with that.
Absolutely, I will. I have a few people I work with who can do that. It's amazing. I really feel like, as a matter of fact, we did that on our flip last year, and I feel like that's really what sold it.
Wow. Yeah. Didn't know anything about that. So yeah.
Yeah. So people like me, I have trouble visualizing.
Me too.
I can, if it's there and I see it, I can tell you if I like it or if it looks good or not. But as far as looking
Yeah.
at an empty room and visualizing it,
Yep.
that's not my game.
I can't conceptualize either. Now I
Yeah.
can a beer or I can a whiskey but I can't decor. No, thank you.
Absolutely. Hey, getting back to beer real quick, I meant to ask you, and this may be a tough question, but are you chasing that perfect beer? Right? Do you have an idea of the perfect beer that you would like to craft?
Pliny the Younger.
I'm gonna have to try that.
Yeah. Well, good luck finding one.
Yeah.
I don't have any aspirations of being the best beer in the world. I just want to make good beer that everyday people can enjoy. And part of my problem is we started out simple, and then we've grown more complicated. I need to get back to simple. So the beer we have brewing right now we just call it Buds.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be like a 4.2 pale ale, just a simple summer slammer. And right now that's what people are looking at. They don't want that giant, kumquat apricot,
Sure,
double, triple pale stout. They want just something simple.
well, and I know sometimes for me that's what I'm looking for. I don't know. I don't want to order a Bud Light,
Right.
but I would like a nice craft beer that's not necessarily 6 or 7% alcohol,
Right.
but that does have
Right.
some body
Flavor.
to it and some flavor. Yeah.
Yeah. Taste. I want to. Yes. And I mean, we've always had beers like that, like our Whittle Moon. It's a 5% Belgian wit. It's very, very approachable. And then I don't think our IPAs are so complicated that they can't be enjoyed. Now we do have some complicated beers. Our Saison,
Sure.
it's an extremely complicated beer. Our anniversary beer, the Drunken Unicorn, the strong Scotch bourbon barrel aged beer. It's like a fine wine. It really, it gets better and better as it suffers. There's a lot of dark fruits, plums, raisins, caramel forward, with just that little bit of smoke on the back end that acts kind of like the hops and clears your palate, and you're ready for the next drink. I call it a party in a bottle.
Absolutely, and I know that's a big deal every year when you release
Yeah.
that. It's usually on St. Patrick's Day, right? Is that correct?
St. Patty's Day, that's our anniversary. Luckily, we had it the weekend before St. Patty's Day this year. If we'd have waited for the weekend after St. Patty's, we would have been closed.
Right.
Because that's when they close down. And St. Patty's Day, like most bars, is our Black Friday. Without it, that's our money for the year, St. Patty's Day.
Sure.
So.
Well, listen, I'm not gonna keep you much longer. We're gonna go ahead and wrap this up, but before
I've enjoyed it, and I appreciate the opportunity to spew.
Oh, absolutely. I'm really glad that you decided to join me today and spend some time with us. Is there anything before we go that we didn't address, or something that you have on your mind that you really want to get out there to people?
So the only thing that visit us, come buy something, but our customers are fantastic. We had an overabundance of pre-filled growlers due to the ATC ruling on us, and we sent that out Sunday that we had this glut, and within 45 minutes we were sold out. So our customers are fantastic. They're loyal. Thank you. Appreciate it. and again, we wouldn't be anything without them, and our employees. They are so loyal and dedicated. They say, Rick, anything you need, anything, and they're there. We love them to death. So shout out
that's
to
quite
all
obvious that I feel like each of them take ownership in the business. They feel like it's their baby as well, and that's obvious just from coming in the store and speaking with them.
Well, we're known as Beer Mom and Dad. So
Yeah.
I
guess there's worse things you could be known as, right?
I actually performed our head brewer's wedding.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
that's awesome.
We're that kind of a bunch.
Cool. So yeah, go visit. You can visit them on the web at donumdeibrewery.com. Obviously, you can call right now and pre-order growlers. Is that correct? You can pre-order them and come pick
there's
them
a couple of ways. You can call us direct, or you can go through Second Kitchen and order them that way.
Okay. And obviously, you're on Facebook and Instagram and all the other social media sites.
All that social media stuff that I don't know how to do very well.
Most importantly, go visit them. 3211 Grant Line Road, number 3 in New Albany, right behind Lee's Chicken. And Richard, I really appreciate you spending time with us. I could sit here and talk to you for another hour, so maybe we'll have to do it again sometime. I look forward to getting back in the store sometime.
Maybe we can do it from the pub next time.
That would be awesome. Preferable.
Sipping on a bourbon.
Absolutely. Yeah, maybe we'll do it when you finally
there we go.
Tap that barrel. That'll be my sly little way of getting in and having some of it.
There you go. All right.
All right. Have a good day.
Thank you, man. Bye.
All right. Thanks again to Richard Otey, and a special thanks to you for choosing to spend time with me today. Please make sure to support Donum Dei and all of your local businesses, and please make sure to support this podcast by sharing it with your friends, hitting that subscribe button on your favorite platform, and maybe even writing a short review. And more importantly, if you or anyone you know is looking to buy or sell a home, please give me a call. I'd love to serve you. Thanks for listening, and have a great day, everyone.